Welcome to my channel. Last summer, we started this channel, Random and Famous. So it has been nearly a year now. And the whole idea was to talk with the people who are making a difference to others' lives and changing them or trying to do that, no matter how big or small their achievements are, but at least they are there. So today, I'm really grateful and really excited that I have here Jamie with me. She is a director in Uganda for Women, Equality, Inclusion, Sustainability Foundation, also a CEO of Health at Global. And this organization is working to help improve knowledge and healthcare access throughout Africa. Also running a charity there as well. Moved to Uganda nearly a year ago. So welcome, Jamie, and thank you so much for joining me on my podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. I know it sounds a little bit like alphabet soup when there are these three different things that I focus on, but they really all are intertwined in a common goal, and that is to improve access and empower people to take control of their lives through education and career training and social and development efforts. So they sound different based on who I'm representing and in what way, but really the underlying theme of all three organizations and what makes me excited to talk to people like you and motivate others who might be thinking about taking the jump of a non-traditional life right now is focusing on the empowerment and the education aspect.
Okay, that's great. So how it started, like you have a big move to completely different part of the world, okay,
Yes.
helping others, okay. What's the inspiration?
I would say that I was extremely selfish for about 12 years of my life. I worked in corporate America where it was almost impossible not to be. I need the biggest car. I justify my life by the house that I live in. I work simply to get that next vacation. About 10 years ago, I came to Africa for the first time on a all I booked was my airline ticket on this journey of self-exploration. I was recently a new single mom and I needed to experience something different than the world that I was living in that moment. And that stuck with me. The power of the human spirit in Africa was something I never forgot. And I told myself I was going to do that when I retired. And then I started thinking through that when COVID happened and why am I waiting to fulfill what gives me passion and what gives me joy? And why am I living for the next vacation or counting down until Friday? And that's COVID did that for me. I actually left the country with my son right before the borders closed, and we got into Portugal and lived together on a fruit farm in the middle of nowhere for months on end, because once you get in, you can't get out.
Yeah.
And that was life changing for me. I realized how much I had missed out on by focusing on my career over my son and myself.
Yeah, I think it's a very bold move, to just go out and say, okay, I'm gonna do it, and this is the time, and without knowing the consequences, right?
Yes.
And so tell me how it's going with your organization, you helping out, and how it's progress during the last year.
Yeah, thank you. So, I think we all make a series of small decisions in a split second. And my life course has been slightly different as I tend to make big decisions in a split second. And after that experience in Portugal, when we flew back, I sold my home, sold my car, decided that this was not the life for me, quit my job with very little thought, and booked a ticket to come to Africa. That was it. That was the plan. Like, we'll figure it out.
Oh,
There what the plan was, there was no plan. The only plan was I knew we needed a different frame and a different form of life for ourselves to create value in ways that I wasn't finding in my corporate career. So we stayed with some friends for 2 weeks in Egypt, just enjoying the almost Smithsonian like pictures because there was no one there, and you got to use it as an opportunity to teach our kids about the history in those ways. And through happenstance on LinkedIn, I reached out to an NGO in Uganda. I really wanted my son to experience service the way that I have. really getting into experiences with people that are experiencing extreme poverty, understanding their lens on life and learning from it. They invited us and wrote the letter of authorization for us to come to Uganda, which was intended to be a month. That was our plan. But to stick with my impulsive lifestyle, I met my husband here and haven't looked back since. It's the happiest my family has been in my life by taking a series of bold moves.
Okay, that's great. So, what are the challenges you are getting as working with the charity and establishing the system there, helping creating awareness?
Yes.
So, what are the obstacles coming?
Yeah, I think, we've been really fortunate because of my corporate background. I would never say a negative thing about the time I spent there, other than that it was not the right fit for who I am culturally. But in terms of having the acumen to achieve grants, awareness, do our branding, we have that. My husband is Ugandan, so we have a great relationship with the local government. He's lived here his whole life. We're able to do projects that a lot of others would struggle with getting through those barriers. The biggest challenge that we face right now is largely behavioral change. And that won't come as a shock to anyone who's been to Africa. You're changing really centuries worth of belief systems on what a woman's value is. Is she just someone who has 10 children and cooks for you? That's a well-held belief. Is it acceptable to cane my children for, touching food too fast? Like basic things that would be criminal in the United States. One of the projects that I work on is with girls under the age of 19 that are pregnant. We run clinics for them on hygiene, self-awareness, how to give birth safely, and then mental and behavioral health. And I can tell you, hearing their stories and yet their will to continue is one of the biggest things that keeps me personally going. Like they don't give up. But I think our biggest challenge is changing cultural norms that have been so ingrained in not only men, but women and children about their role and their place in the world.
Okay, great. So, doing all this and coming take such a big step, okay, and there's a lot of challenges there, as you said. What sort of help you need, you think, from other organizations or the donors, or just to awareness, what you would like to do in future, what you want them to do for?
Yeah, so I think that there are three components of this that are really important. One is understanding what sustainability means in ultra poverty rural areas. If you look behind me, while we live in the village, I have to come to places like this to get internet. I wash my hair in a bucket. We don't have paved roads. I got dressed up just for you today. This is not usually how I would look. My hair would be on the top of my head. But there's a very primitive lifestyle here that is classified as ultra poverty. So understanding what it means to engage in sustainable community development is really important for donors. Make sure that you're investing in organizations like ours that focus on creating systems, people, and process that live beyond the dollar you give. It's one of the reasons Africa has a bad reputation, is misappropriation of funds and corruption. Also, probably not surprising to anyone. And that's why there's a lot of hesitancy to donate over here. We've created a system for fiscal accountability, project tracking, and management, which is one of the reasons why we have been successful so far. But we've made a very small dent in a very big problem, to be perfectly honest. So that gets to the second point, which is financing. Even though we're able to secure things at a very good rate and a good cost through procurement with the government, there's always more need than there is financial help to achieve the goals that we've set out to. And then I think the third piece of it is really creating leadership teams that model the belief system and the behavioral change. That's the hardest part. It's finding those people in your community that can start to be the change that they want to see in the world and that we want to see in the world, and to do so at a young age. So we focus a lot on children. But those are the three big pain points. It's really making sure that we're finding the right donors, that we're demonstrating outcomes to them that are measured, and also the sustainability components of behavioral change.
And how are you reaching out to these various donors or other organizations?
I will say
Yeah.
it's difficult. I spend a lot of time on grants. I'm fortunate for the background in corporate life that gave me the skills to know how to complete these grants. But I look at them, and many others in developing countries wouldn't know how to answer these questions. So
Yeah.
we also host sessions and virtual seminars for other NGOs to help them get up and going, use the methodologies we do, help them with templates. That's a very important part of the process as well, is just understanding how to navigate it. So grants are a portion. They take a long time. They can be complicated, and you have to have patience and persistence. But we've been really fortunate that we've found, largely through LinkedIn, how you and I met, people have seen the work that we do, have felt the passion to serve and to help us. And we've created lifelong friends. Our 1 Million Walls is a great example of one of our donors that's based in Texas. And they're so excited about the project. They were here a couple months ago. They're coming back in September because they want to do more. So we try to create great experiences for anyone who invests in us or visits us, whether that's time, money, or resources.
Yeah, that's great. I also noticed on your profile, you're talking about mental health.
Yes.
Is it close to you, mental health, or you want to create awareness? Like people don't know, sometimes don't realize that how important it is and how it
Yeah.
affects your daily life, right?
I consider myself a survivor. I have experienced extreme trauma early in life that I am grateful changed me for the better in terms of being able to overcome something significant that could have otherwise defined me in a negative way. That's probably part of my attachment to these young girls who are 14, 15 years old having babies, and and people who are caught in these situations with no emotional support to navigate adult situations at ages that are so young. Mental health is near and dear to my heart. And it's something that particular first world, if you can afford it, great, you'll get services. If you have insurance, perfect. Here it doesn't exist unless you're outwardly offering that, and that's something that we extend through our clinic outreach as well as our women empowerment group, is mentorship with a focus on behavioral and mental health.
Okay, that's great. So when would you say, and I ask these questions to all my guests when they come to my podcast, when would you say that you have taken that first step that changed your life? It could be people say 10 years ago, or people say 3 months ago.
Yes. So when I was 20 years old, I was in a rut, and dating myself. That was quite a while ago. And I made the same decision I did at this point because I felt the exact same way. At that point in my life, it was sell everything, move to New York City, the most expensive place at the time, with less than $2,000 in your bank account, but make it work for 6 months, find yourself sort of solution. And I wound up staying for years, and reflect on that as one of the most defining characteristics of who I am as a person. And I started feeling those same emotions of complacency, of going through the motions, of not fulfilling my purpose when we decided to make the jump to Uganda. And it didn't take me long to decide it's time to shake things up again. It's time to go find yourself again in a way that is based on service and based on doing better for the world, and less focused on driving the brand new Mercedes. Who cares? Sell the thing.
Yeah, I think that's quite resonate with the tagline you have on your profile, which I was reading last night, and it said, take a risk to serve, to love, and be present. Life is too short. And that's
Yes.
exactly what I can see here.
You.
Yeah.
It is so critical to me because anything could happen tomorrow. And the last thing I want in my life is to have regrets that I waited too long to do what was truly important to me.
Yeah. Okay. What would you say, Jamie, to someone who has these ideas and they want to change their life, or they want to do their own business, maybe online, or help others, but they're always reluctant to take that step, right? And all of us have this thing. Right?
Yes.
What would you say to that person what they should do?
I think there's two options, and a lot of it depends on your personality, right? One is to find a mentor or someone that can encourage you on what to expect and support you through that process. Because anytime you make a big life change, you're going to have surprises. You're going to cry at some point. Something's going to go wrong. As an example, I was taken into barracks and accused of being a spy and was stuck there for a prolonged period of time. Something will go wrong. And having that emotional support in whatever form that takes on your journey is one thing I highly recommend, because it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows. I can talk a lot about where we are now, which is very different than where we were when we started. But I think the other thing is create the trust in yourself. Self-empowerment is one of the most validating changes and switches you can flip in your mind, from what if I fail to what if this is what really unlocks my happiness? And I can say it has for my family. It has, I would never expect that I'd be married to a Ugandan, washing my hair with a jerry can, serving underprivileged communities, that I'd know how to drill a well or install solar panels. If you would have told me that 5 years ago, I would have said, I have a board meeting, whatever, I need to do my slides tonight. But really kind of focusing on taking that instinct and that first step, really understanding that, what if this goes right? What if this solves the things that keep me down?
I think it's a great message. I think it's a fear of failure always,
Yes.
which stops us to take this step towards what we want to do, and most of us do that. Actually, that's quite right.
Guess what? The worst thing that can happen, and I tell myself this all the time, is you go back to where you were before.
Exactly.
The worst thing that can happen, really, most of the time.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Great message. On that note, Jamie, thank you so much for
My
joining
pleasure.
me, and hopefully we'll keep in touch in future. And thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.